really easy.
Recording is in progress. So, welcome to the Moneytree Mastery Property Show. We haven't been here for a week or two, actually, 2 weeks, because we were off on our travels last week in the most beautiful setting of Canterbury with our mastermind group. We were sat as the audience, we were the ones absorbing and learning last week, taking it all in a most fabulous environment. Lots of great people, all looking to help and share and just help the group move on and all excel in business. So it was a very pleasant 3 days in Canterbury. What do you say?
Absolutely, yeah. So welcome all. Thanks for joining us on the Money Tree Mastery Property Show. I'm Neil Dobson. I'm here with co-host with Jackie, and we are here to bring you up-to-date, relevant property news about all sorts, strategies, lending, housing market, what's going on, trends, etc. So we're going to bring you up-to-date information to help you grow and scale your property business confidently. So you're absolutely in the right place. So with no further ado, let's hand over to Jackie to host the show.
Woohoo! Well done! Just so everybody knows, that was Neil's first time of actually doing a proper introduction for the show. So, round of applause. Woo, woo,
What
woo,
are
woo,
you
woo,
on?
woo, woo. See, we will get the hang of this. We will get the hang of this. We don't want it to be just like an hour of babble. We do actually want to have some
And
structure, but we're
and
learning.
we don't want it to be too stiff either, though. We want to have a bit of
No.
fun learning, yeah.
So we're learning as we go along what to do. I've been watching the one show to get their structure, see how they do it.
Yeah, I've been putting a few awards on the wall behind
Yeah,
me.
very good idea.
I've still got the fruit and the kettle behind me. But it's amazing. It's amazing to have you here. If you're watching this on a catch up or a replay, then thank you so much for coming and engaging with us and yeah, just coming along to see what we're up to. The lovely Donna's here with us today as well. We do have Jake normally, who's our Moneytree Mastery mortgage broker, but this particular day, month of no week of the month, I'll get the words out. He actually has other commitments. So yeah, the fourth Thursday of the month he won't be here, but he will be back with us next week, and he'll bring all his mortgage
Seamless.
news. Uh,
Seamless.
Seamless. But we do have Neil here who will be bringing us news of what's going on in the property market, and he's probably got some mortgage news as well, stepping into Jake's shoes. We will be discussing just general sort of property chit chat, what is going on, our thoughts, our concerns, how we see the property market heading. A hot topic actually this week has been auction properties. We did a fab session on purchasing through auction with our mentee group on Tuesday evening. Yeah, really interesting. It's one of our favorite ways of buying. I just find it so interesting doing all the
Buying or
digging.
selling. We've done both
Yeah, but
regularly.
digging, doing all the background checks, just finding out what that little gem is with how we can buy it and transform it into something amazing. Yeah, so one of my favorite strategies to actually purchase a property. But uh, for now, I'm going to pass this waffle baton over to Neil
Well, I'm not
and
sure I can
to give
waffle
us
quite as much as you.
give us news on what's going on in the property market, mortgage news, bridging news. I don't know what you've got in store for us, but over to you.
Well, I haven't prepped much mortgage or bridging news because I was led to believe that Jake would be on board today. But one thing that's really quite interesting, and we'll have to see which way it goes and how much they relax, is the big boys of the lending for first time buyers are being encouraged to relax all the criteria. So affordability, deposit, um, uh, the calculation, how many times your salary. So they're really going to try and relax to get the housing market going, which I think is quite a dangerous move. because you don't want people to get into financial difficulty, end up losing their house, and then obviously they have bad credit for a long time, and it restricts them moving forward. But we'll see what comes of that. It really is in its early stages, and to what degree they go, we'll find out. But house sales, rather surprisingly, rose year to November. They're up. How much were they up? They were up. Oh, it doesn't say, but they were at year on year to November. They were up, which is probably doesn't reflect what went on in the budget. So the next release will be the interesting one to see what happened. The few months following the budget. So we'll see. Keep a close eye on that and report back to you on that. House prices. Oh, house sales increased year to November. House prices increased by 3.3% year on year to November. So again, surprising, but obviously that really doesn't have a big impact by the budget at this stage. So that, like I say, the next quarter will be really interesting to see how they're impacted. But those figures might be slightly distorted by the fact that there's a huge frenzy to try and purchase properties and get them over the line before the 1st of April, when the increase in stamp duty land tax kicks in, is scheduled to kick in. And rather dramatically, it's only 11 weeks away. So the 1st of April is only 11 weeks away. So people are really scrapping around trying to get the purchase and complete before the 1st of April, because it can save you a significant amount of money. And this is really interesting. Savills, one of the biggest agents in the country, are already predicting a huge rise in commercial purchases. And the reason behind that is that more and more people are deciding not to opt to work at home. They're going back to work out in the workspace in offices around the country. So people are now deciding that they've had enough of working from home. It's fun while it lasted, and it was enforced obviously as due to COVID. But moving on now, they reckon that more and more people actually want to get out of the house and do a proper day's work in an office. So yeah, let's get on the bandwagon. Let's get buying them, and let's get the renting them out. So yeah, commercial purchases for commercial to office space is going to be big this year, they predict. So, and that sort of sums up the news. There's not a lot going on in this week. I think we're all just poised, waiting for what happens next after the break of Christmas and the New Year, etc.
I did read, well, I should say thank you very much for
Thank
that
you. You're welcome.
update.
How
Uh,
polite are we?
I did read actually that the local housing allowance rates are being frozen for 2025, so there'll be no increase this year for the LHA rates. Um, if you don't understand what local housing allowance rates are, it's the well, it's council tenants basically. So it's social housing. It's what the government pays those who are receiving benefits or some form of government support to pay for housing. And they're usually about 2/3 of the regular market rent.
Private sector,
They
private
were
renting.
they were frozen for quite a lot of years, weren't they? And then in 2023, I think they actually increased them, but they've frozen them again. So there won't be any increase on the LHA rates in 2025. But the actual market, the PRS, the private rental sector rates are still increasing. So there's going to be that big gap again. So we know, Neil and I, from experience through having spoken to a couple of councils recently, that there is still a massive demand for landlords for properties because they just haven't got enough. But it's because of the mortgage rates have increased, so that means that the payments for mortgages obviously have gone up, and it's just that big gap, the big gap between what you actually receive on the LHA and obviously what you're paying in a mortgage, and it just doesn't make it a viable option from in certain areas.
It's interesting you touched on the LHA rates actually, because I've been doing a lot of research just this morning. I've been drilling into a few guest houses, sort of 10, 12 room guest houses, and obviously when you go into a deal, you want to have a safety net, and my safety net is the LHA rate. So if you can't get it out in the private sector, because you get permitted development now on guest houses, depending on the location, you need to look at your council to see what whether they put Article 4 on them. But obviously, when you get into a deal, you want to have a safety net. So if you can't rent them to the private sector, if they're not going, you can put them across to the council at LHA rates, and if they still work there, you've got a good deal. So yeah, interesting that you should touch on that. So I've researched a couple of areas this morning where see what their rates are, and
And how
it's
did it compare?
amazing. It's amazing, really, area to area how it differs. Um, I did one at a location in Essex and one in Suffolk. Essex has got a significantly higher LHA rate per accommodation compared to Suffolk, and so it's interesting, yeah. And you touched on our meetings. We had a Zoom meeting with East Suffolk Council, who are absolutely crying out for temporary accommodation in two of the areas that we focus on quite heavily. So yeah, it's an option for another strategy there to get involved with them, and they do long-term contracts. So they act as a letting agent themselves. So you've got no fees, no voids, no maintenance. So they're really quite a viable option. They pay over and above a percentage, depending on the council, a percentage over and above the LHA rate. So it could be a better option than the private rental sector.
And they guarantee the rent as well. So if the
Yeah.
tenant does stop paying for whatever reason, or there is no tenant in there, they will continue to pay the rent. So they are just, yeah, they're desperate for landlords. But it is the difference between the mortgage payment and the LHA rate, and there's nothing left. So you'd be doing it, for out the goodness of your heart in particular areas. But there is one area in Harwich actually that we invest in where the PRS and the LHA are pretty much on par. There's probably about 15 quid in it, and they will offer the same. Actually, like they offer their service as a letting agency, but with no fees and all these guarantees. So there are some great deals to be had. The key is to obviously find the right property. Is to really speak to the social housing, to speak to the council, see what types of property they want, so you can go buying to order. But it's just making sure that the numbers stack. That they
Yeah, I mean, if anyone that's
really
watching the recording of this wants to see how we stack our deals, get in touch. Jacqui will tell you the best way to get in touch with us, and we can set up a Zoom using our Calendly link, and we can have a chat.
Yeah, cool. Actually, I'll put the WhatsApp to join the WhatsApp community.
Yeah, so you
I'll
can
do that.
be up to date with all the news we feed into there. Yeah.
Yeah, fab. Thank you very much. It's really interesting topic. It's been such a topic of conversation, social housing since the new government came in, basically. Because mortgage rates and just all the changes. People want to get away from PRS because of the private rental sector, because of the renters rights bill. I want to keep
Renters' rights bill, yeah.
if you want to say reform, the writers rents bill that's coming in
The
this
writers'
year now.
rents bill. What's the writers' rents bill?
The renters' rights bill. Is that's
Between us, we're quite good, aren't we?
Just getting all my words all jumbled up. But yeah, that's coming in this summer. I haven't actually heard of any updates. I need to do that so I can report back. But
That's gone
yeah,
quiet, actually.
yeah.
Very quiet,
So
yeah.
loads and loads of landlords are wanting to get out of the market. Because of the changes, they just don't want to take that risk of even more I should say, greater prolonged court cases, and to having to live without rent for months and months and months because the tenant's not paying. And yeah, it's very, very one-sided, and they don't at the moment, they don't look at landlords as regular people. They think they're these multi-millionaires that have got money to throw, and it's almost like it's our duty as landlords to be housing people, not the fact that we're doing it in a way of business, and it's a way for us to bring income into our lives and give either ourselves a little extra financial boost, or to, so we have that freedom of time that, that we all strive for. So yeah, lots of changes coming. But yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting time.
So what have you got lined up?
Oh, I've just got it off my screen. Hold on. I made a thing so I could see what's going on.
Made a thing.
I made a thing. Okay.
Right.
Oh, well, let's talk about last night, shall we? Because that was lovely. So our mastermind meal, our
So yeah.
quarterly mastermind
Um,
meal was last night. Very,
so
very nice.
yeah, so the members of the actual yearly members, those that pay up front or on a subscription for our membership at the Moneytree Mastery Property Networking event, we get together once a quarter, have the opportunity to get together once a quarter. We keep it quite small and niche, so we try and have a maximum of 10 people. So that we really engage and we can obviously keep control as well, because we want to give great value. So if there's too many people, you lose a bit of control and they're all having their own conversations, etc. But last night we had 8 people and it was phenomenal. I think the value there, the openness, the sharing of experiences, knowledge, and it's amazing. We all come away with some nuggets of information, and that's everyone, even us as hosts. I mean, let's face it, nobody knows everything. So you're always listening to others. Others have had different experiences to what you have, and you learn from them and help each other. So it's a massively supportive group, and it's just a pleasure to be within it and a pleasure to host it. It's yeah, the venue's great, the food's great, but it just complements the people that come along, really, I think.
It was quite interesting actually, because we went around the table and we were sort of sharing about how we felt our sort of 2024s had
Yeah.
been and how we were looking, into the future of how we want our 2025 to be. And the common theme was the roller coaster of 2024, even though everybody's in different businesses. We've got like therapists, we've got build teams in different guises as well, insurance, sort of I don't know what.
Landscapers.
Yeah, all sorts. Yeah, we've got gardeners, all sorts of things around the table. But how everybody's 2024 was a real roller coaster. I know ours
Including
was.
ours, yeah, including ours.
I know
It was
ours
it
was.
was it was entertaining, I'd put it. That's so. But if I use one word to sum up 2024, it'd be incomplete. We really didn't achieve all we wanted to achieve. So yeah, we're going to make sure that we reach all the outstanding 2024 goals plus all the new big goals we've set for 2025.
Yeah, it was a real learning curve for us last year.
Taught us a lesson.
Definitely.
Definitely
So
taught us
yeah, so 2025 for us is more focused, more getting ourselves out there, awareness of who we are, what we do. We've been to 2 events already this year. We've been amazing. Yeah, so 2025 around the table, everyone was really looking forward to it. Got new business partners on board. So yeah, so good things
and but
ahead.
But everybody, I believe, no matter what level you're at, where you're at in your career, your journey, whatever you like to call it, everybody needs a mentor. We've got a couple of fantastic mentors still that they charge us good money, but we absolutely get value for money, and that's the main thing: is are you getting the value for what you're spending? And we certainly do with the mentors we spent 3 days with one of them last week. And the amount of light bulb moments that I personally had was phenomenal. So it's money well spent, and it will help us to help our community as well, because we're always striving to get better, more knowledgeable, and share as much as we can with everyone that we rub shoulders with.
Most definitely. Now, a little subject I touched upon last night, which I thought was quite funny. I had quite a funny response. Was a little app that I found on the phone about how much time you actually spend a day on your phone. So whoever's if you're watching, if you go into settings in your phone, so it's Android or iPhone, um, and go into mine is Android, so I go into the well-being. If it's iPhone, you go into the
Screen time.
screen time, and just have a look to see how many hours a day you're actually spending on your phone. And just keep in mind, you've only got 24 hours in one day, and you spend probably eight
Can
of
I
those asleep.
can I just say that obviously you were expecting mine to be extortionate, the amount of time I spend on my screen, but there was Juliet in the room who spent 2.5 hours on average more on her phone than I do, and Andy Tucker, he spent 7 hours more on his screen than I do on average.
My goodness. But I
So I'm
actually,
not taking any more criticism.
but it's really amazing actually how we're so just like, these are every time it beeps, buzzes, we just like have to look. Um, I was watching well, actually, one of the mentors who we had come in as a guest mentor on one of the mastermind groups, Jason Greystone, he actually does a really good YouTube vid about sort of analysing how you're spending your time. So I'd recommend finding Jason Greystone on YouTube. He's all about sorting out your finances, building obviously financial wealth, building that financial war chest. He helps.
He's all about as well freeing up time.
Yeah, 100%. And he works with like really high profile celebs to sort their finances out because people are able to earn lots of money, but keeping hold of it is a different thing.
Yeah, can they
That's why we
manage it?
hear about these big celebs that go bankrupt even though they've had millions of pounds in the bank. So
Well,
that's
and lottery winners, nearly
yeah,
a huge percentage of them go back to where they were within months.
because they don't know how to handle. But that's his coaching program, but he's also very, very successful in his own right. He goes on to retreats, and a high profile retreat. So the mentors of the mentors of the mentors. He's one of those. And he says that they have like a mentoring session or a group session, or they're doing something around the table. And then there's an hour where there's nothing. Everybody else is off on their laptops having to do business. And he's the one sitting there twiddling his thumbs because he actually has nothing to do because he is so systemized and he's got it so nailed down. So I definitely recommend looking Jason Greystone up on YouTube. He's been talking about like your time analysis. I actually put a little thing together, so I'm going to share it with you. If you're watching this on replay, Donna, I'll stick this into our Slack. But if you're watching this on the replay, just get in contact with us through WhatsApp or through email, or find us on Facebook, which is the Dobson's Property Adventures, and just ask for the How Are You Spending Time spreadsheet, and I will send that over to you. And it's just like a little time analysis. It's just 15 minutes for a week that you have to just every 15 minutes just click to say what you're doing, and you'll actually see what you're wasting time on and how you can actually reap some time back and actually either spend it on yourself or spend it in your business. And you'll find out how quickly you can actually move forward if you just recognize that, those moments where you're distracted by something. Yeah, so just drop me a message, whether it's Facebook. If you're in the
Or
WhatsApp, then send me a WhatsApp message and I will send that over to you.
distracted by a dog.
Say that again.
You get distracted by a dog.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's my downtime. She's my de-stress when you need a little bit of distraction, purposeful distraction. She's there. So yeah, so that was really good. Yeah, so Jason Greystone, look him up, YouTube. Okay. What have we got coming up? Oh, next week. Next week we've got in-person networking. And we've got really amazing presenters next week that have been
Me,
you, me,
me.
oops. We've got at our in-person networking, uh, LNPG. Over to Neil who
So yeah,
LNPG are.
we've got a representative from LMPG, which is the Landlords National Purchasing Group, who have negotiated some phenomenal discounts for landlords for property investors. It's very low subscription, but all you'd have to do is subscribe to them and list your investment properties, and then you can purchase through their site. And the savings, the discounts are phenomenal. So I'm very excited because they're always bringing on new partners. So it'll be a real good um, presentation to really see who's new, who are new partners on board, so, and who else we can tap into. Only yesterday morning we purchased a washing machine through AO Business, which is part of LMPG, and I think we got just off a washing machine, it's £280 discount. So they do, and what they do, once you sign up with them and create your own account, they'll send you an Excel spreadsheet of the biggest offers at any one time. So they update that regularly. And if you time it right, there's some massive savings. So yeah, it's great. So I'm looking forward to see who are the new partners and where else we can utilize their network, really.
Yeah, I don't feel that we probably use it to its full extent. I know we've bought like laptops and things through it and like the white goods. But yeah, but through the like the refurbishments, I don't think we utilize it quite as well as we could. And we've got one coming up actually. So that would be good to see how we can make some savings on there. So Neil, I have a little challenge for you.
Oh yeah, right.
As
Go on.
Jake isn't here and we have quite a lot of experience in this particular topic, I'm
Now I'm intrigued or
going
concerned.
to throw at you. So auction properties has been a hot topic for this week for our group of mentees, everybody on our elite accelerator program. So we had a fantastic session on Tuesday night, all about purchasing from auction. Juliet, who's new to our group, but she has had her eye on a particular property that was going through auction, and she wanted to know all about how the buying process, how it all works, the numbers. So I am going to throw at you about the actual purchasing of an auction property where it comes to the funding side of it. So throw you in at the deep end. As Jake isn't here, but we have done this quite a few times now, so we understand the ups and the downs of auctions and getting funding for them. So I'm going to swing it over to you and chat to us about the topic of auction properties and the funding side of it.
Well, I'll just backtrack a little bit to Juliet, who's one of our mentees. And part of what we offer, if the timing's right, is we'll go out and view property with them. Now, there's some urgency around this property that Juliet's found because it's going to auction very, very soon. So we have decided that we will go and view it with her tomorrow and see if we can nail down the numbers, look for the comparables, and sort of gauge her maximum bid, really. So yeah, that's quite exciting, and it looks like a little gem. It's just a question of how many other people see it as a little gem. So, but yeah, we're optimistic we can do our best for her, and we're hoping we can get the first one under her belt as a result. So buying through auction, well, finance is, in particular, is what you're asking, is it?
Yeah,
Um,
the finance
okay,
side.
okay. Well, the first tip is if you find a property online, never bid on it without viewing it. So always arrange a viewing, so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into, and you can see it for yourself and see any sort of hidden issues. But buying really, ideally cash. Let's be honest. You really want to buy cash. You want to look at obviously the buying fees, so the auction fees. And obviously, if you are successful bidder, the hammer goes down. You have to pay 10% generally, and your contracts are exchanged. So you are legally bound to then purchase that property. But in an ideal world, you need cash. Ideally, cash. Not you don't need only cash, but if you haven't got cash, um, bridging is the best route. What you need to do is at the earliest opportunity, once you've viewed it and you run your numbers and you know what your maximum bid is, where it's going to work for your business, is to send a link to your broker and get an offer in principle based on your maximum bid. If they agree with your numbers, they will give you that offer in principle and they will agree that you will receive the funding with 28 days to complete within the the criteria, the timeline of the auction house. Some are longer than 28 days, but the rule of thumb is generally 28 days. So obviously in that scenario, you need your deposit still. You still need 25, probably 25% loan to value as the deposit. So you've got to have that money available. And it is really very much a case of looking through the legal pack as well to make sure there aren't any other hidden surprises from a financial point of view. Quite more often than not, it says in the legal pack that you have to pay for the searches. And quite often it states that you have to pay the seller's legal fees as well. So you want to drill into that and make sure you know what other costs you're going to incur so you can reduce your maximum offer by a set amount so you don't overpay for a property. So you end up with a little gem really, and a cash flowing or a money making flip, whatever the strategy is, end result. So again, always work from the end backwards. What's it going to be worth when I've done it up? And then work it back so you can gauge your maximum offer where it works for your business. And then bid up to that and then sit on your hands. Don't do any more bidding. But there's obviously a few red flags when you are bidding as well about really, I would never get involved until it's reached or gone over the guide price. Because up until that point, well, I wouldn't get involved. And then until they said, actually, I can sell now, or it's in the room with me, to suggest that you've got a genuine bid and it's gone past the reserve. So then I would get involved, because up to that point, they'll take you up, whether there's bids or not, they'll take you up to close to the reserve, hoping one person, if there's no interest, hoping one person will bid, make the next bid and get it to his reserve and they sell it. So it's very much a game. We can do a whole day on this auctions. So if anyone wants more information, or anyone, if we get a number of people request that we do a full day event on auctions, etc., we'll happily do so. On that note, we have got a full day coming up on the 22nd of March here in Colchester. An in-person full day event, and we Saturday, 22nd of March, and it really is going back to the beginning. So we're going to do a whole day on buy, refurbish, refinance, as it's known now, or buy to lets as it was known when we started, which is far easier. And so we're going to go right from how do you nail down the area to the strategy, how do you run the numbers, how do you find the properties, how do you negotiate on the property? How do you build rapport with the people you need to get those properties at the right price? And how do you build your team to see them through? And basically how to then sort of present them. So how you refurb them, to what level you refurb them, how you then rent them out or flip them, and then how you do the refinance if you retain the asset. So we're going to do a whole day on that, which is going to be phenomenal. So yeah, there's a little plug there, but that led nicely into that. Yeah, it's something that people don't do now, is in-person training. It's all modules or Zooms. So we want to do a real in-depth one day on one strategy, which will include buy-to-let and flips, which is pretty much the same scenario with a different exit. But
and
there we go.
you've given me the structure to build it, so thank you for that.
Yeah, you put it together and I'll come along and present it. It's perfect.
You just gave me all the modules then, so it's like, great, I don't have to think of that. Thanks very much. You've just given me the framework. Brilliant. So, I mean, auctions are a fantastic way of getting really cheap properties, but they obviously does have pitfalls. Neil, could you just speak about the actual, like, getting bridging or mortgaging, or if you're buying in cash, what should you look out for? Just do that side of things as well. So the actual, like, the physical buying of it.
Well, I don't know what you mean exactly.
So as in, what if you're buying in cash? Like the exit plan, working from the exit backwards.
Oh, so
buying with
almost.
bridging, what to have in place.
So you're talking about a sort of buy to let or buy refurbish refinance, aren't you? Really? So
Well,
it's
of an
the same
auction,
scenario. Yeah, but it's the same scenario, really. You've got to look at the end goal. You know, what is that property going to be worth once you've put your spin on it from a refurb point of view? Work it all the way back to take out all your costs. So your buying costs, your stamp duty, your refurbishment costs, cost of money, and then whatever you're left with is where it works for your business to get your money out the other end. So you buy with cash. You add value by doing a nice refurb on it. And what we tend to do is what they call a champagne finish lemonade budget. We don't cut any corners. It's done right first time, but obviously using LMPG, we get things at a really good price, and we can really give it the wow without spending the champagne money. So do we add the value and then we rent it out? Generally, our refurbs are so appealing to the renter that we get more than the going rate. But that's a different subject moving forward with the renters' rights reform, isn't it? Because there won't be able to be a bidding war. But we tend to rent all our properties out more than the actual going rate because people desire to live in them because they're such a nice space. And then once you've already started your refinance process. So you go through the refinance process, you prove your rental income, you document all the way how you've added value to it with your refurb, and then you submit for the refinance. And obviously you should get 75% loan of value. And if you bought it right, you should get all your money back out. So you've got a property that owes you nothing, but cash flows every month. Is that what you meant?
Amazing. I'll just add in a couple of bits. So just if you are going to buy at auction in cash, just make sure, as Neil was saying, obviously your exit, that's what you really need to focus on. It's not the actual purchasing, it's how you're getting your money out. So make sure that those searches are done. Make sure you can use it for what you want to use it for. We were going over on Tuesday night a couple of examples about how people had bought flats and they hadn't read the lease, and they were occupier only. That was stipulated in the lease, so it couldn't be used as a rental property.
Owner occupier only.
Yeah, it couldn't be used for service accommodation. It had to be the purchased person who owned it had to live in it. And so people come a bit unstuck and then they're stuck with a property that's appealing to nobody. Also bridging as well. I would personally recommend, this is through our experience of, if you're going to bridge for an auction property, have a plan B, have somebody in the background if you haven't got those funds in the bank that can actually lend you, because until the underwriter has signed it off, you're still up in the air of whether or not that lending is actually going to be available to you at the time when you're supposed to complete. So it might be delayed by a week, and then you may get fees, additional fees, if the other solicitor is particularly mean. Or they may well decide that they're not going to lend to you after all anyway, and then you're still committed to buying this property. So always have that plan B just up your sleeve, just in case. Mortgages generally take a bit too long for
Oh,
auction properties. Mortgages, there's a lot of information and they take about 3 months. So yeah, so bridging pretty quick, but you might also find that you pay a higher percentage for quick bridging. But yeah, so cash, but just be careful with obviously cash, because it's super easy to buy a house in cash, but you want to make sure 100% that you can get your money out once you've done what you need to with it to recoup what you've spent on it.
but
Yes.
there are bridging companies out there that are specifically for auction purchases, so they know the criteria. They'll do desktop valuations. They'll either agree or disagree with your maximum offer or your maximum bid that you've submitted to them, and they may even give you a bit more leeway if they think it's it's a really good deal. So basically, they will say yes or no in principle, and providing you've done all your due diligence and everything, there's nothing really that's going to impede that lending. They should do it on time. And generally, they use their own solicitors, so that speeds things up. And obviously, you need a solicitor that is capable of working to the 28-day completion.
Yeah, that's something actually to check, that a solicitor can actually, we've been let down with solicitors before, when it's been an auction purchase and they basically have done nothing, and then like days before the auction have gone, oh no, we haven't got time to do that now. And we're like, oh my God, and no one
Days
has
before
seen anything.
completion, not the auction. You getting your
Oh
words
yeah.
on the day.
So the days before the date of completion, yeah, they said that they can't do it. So you will pay extra. You'll pay obviously for pushing yourself up to the top of their priority pile. You will be paying, for that service. But if you've worked it all into your numbers and it's a great deal, then yeah, just pay for it. It's what
No, I
you
mean that's the crucial thing at the end of the day. It's not how much it costs you to get there, it's how much you're left with. So is the deal worth doing, even incurring all those costs? So ultimately, it's what you're left with. It doesn't matter what it's cost you to get there, as long as you're in profit or you get your money out and it cash flows. The cost to get there is irrelevant.
Cool. Okay. I think we're pretty much done for today. Any questions from our lovely audience?
Oh, okay. So just retracting back to the LHAs, and is there a generic minimum amount of years across the
No, it
board?
will be council to council. So councils will all work very differently from each other.
Yeah.
So it is a point of contacting the council, asking for their landlord's pack and to see what they're offering, because they
We
tend to now offer like a little incentive as well. They might offer you an extra 250 a year or something for being with them or for keeping your property with them. But
uh,
they differ. Their services differ from
I can the
council to
only one I've
council.
really spoken to in depth is East Suffolk Council, which goes all the way from Lowestoft down to Felixstowe. They're offering at the moment £250 cash back if you sign with them, so you get £250 in your bank. But they're offering a minimum of 12 months, I think, with a maximum of 36 months, wasn't it? Initially. But yeah, so you want to go as long as possible if it's
Mm,
guaranteed rent and you've got no agents fees and you've got no maintenance. All you've got to do is insure it.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, more often than not, you're still responsible for the boiler.
Okay.
Other than that, they're responsible for everything internally. The roof blows off, you're responsible.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but you insure the building, and that's all you got to do.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you take into account that you're going to get, I mean, we pay 10% agents fees. So if you've got a rent of 600, that's £60 you're losing instantly. And then any maintenance is down to you if you're renting it through the private rental sector. So there could be additional costs through the year.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you do it with them, you might be getting 10, 15% less. But really, you've got peace of mind that, I mean, imagine losing a tenant. You're going to have 1 to 2 months voids. So that's another £1,200 you've lost, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, LHA, if you get the right contract, is certainly worth considering.
Yeah.
You can look up the LHA rates. The site is lha.gov.uk, and then you just put in the council
Yeah.
or the postcode, and then it will take you straight through to their rates list, which will be for like shared accommodation, so the HMOs, 1 beds, all the way up to 4 beds. Anything above a 4 bed, so a 5 or a 6, will be at a 4 bed price. But
Okay.
it will obviously they're up to date figures as well. So you can just check on lha.gov.uk and put in the area or the postcode, and it will bring up the list of the rates.
And it's a great exercise to see how it compares to the private rental sector.
Yes.
And then when you take off the cost of the agent and potential maintenance, etc.,
Mm.
to see how they're pretty close normally. They're not too far apart. And you've got peace of mind that you've got no voids with a contract with the council as well.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant.
And obviously, you're helping people out as well, people in need. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so that's a feel good factor, definitely.
Anything else?
Um, I was just, my strategy, I say, is flipping. And I happened to come across a very well known mentor, and she done a thing on flipping, and I wouldn't know how to take what she sort of suggested, but she sort of said that if she had flipped a property, had gone on the market, and it'd been on the market more than 4 or 5 months, she said I'd be getting tenants in straight away. And I was like, okay, sort of defeats the object of doing the flipping, because the whole point of that is to get it done on the market and flip it and hopefully produce a good profit within it. What is your take on what she's possibly suggesting?
Right. She's absolutely spot on. With any deal that you have, you want to have two exits, so you've got a safety net.
Yeah.
So if you're intending to flip it, you always want to have a look at the scenario where it's not going to sell.
Yeah.
More often than not, it doesn't sell because people are too greedy and they won't take an offer on it.
Yeah.
Or it's marketed too high, so there's no interest in it. But if the market was to completely turn on its head and nothing's selling, you then need to, before you even get into the deal, run the numbers to say, right, if I was to refinance it, how much money would I get out?
Yeah.
Could I pay off the finance or the private funders' money? Could I pay their money back? Keep the property till the market changes and rent it out. So, yeah, you always want to make sure that you haven't got all your eggs in one basket as such. So you can't be sort of tunnel vision where I'm only going to flip it, because we did one not in last year. We started it in 2023 and sold it last year, but the market changed completely because there's a lot of unrest about the economy, etc. So it took longer to sell than we were expecting. So we had more costs because of the cost of money, etc. So it eats into your profits. So you've got to come to a point when you say, well, actually, do I keep absorbing those costs and end up with no profit at all? Or shall I refinance it, keep it, get a little bit of cash flow until the market changes, a bit of capital growth, then sell it?
Yeah.
The other option is you could stick it through auction, but obviously you're going to take a hit on the sale price. But it all depends on what it's costing you each month to retain. So it might be a better option to okay, I'll take 10% less.
Yeah.
I'll get it gone because it's going to cost me this much. Even if I sell it today, it's going to be another 3 months it costs because it's got to go through conveyancing.
So I suppose that's where it would work back in numbers with contingency, I suppose, really.
Oh, yeah.
In that sense of just being, if I did, lose 10% on it, is the number still going to work? So I suppose that's quite important to work into it, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. But any deal, you make your money when you buy it. So you've got to buy it right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, she's not wrong. You've got to have a safety net, a second exit strategy, because the market does change. And
I think what she sort of suggested, so she'd put a scenario that something had gone on and it'd been sitting there for 3 months, and then she was straight in for the tenant. So,
that may be her point where it doesn't work anymore because it's costing me too much. So let's get some money back.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, we've sort of come to an end.
That's the hour done, yeah.
Yeah, lovely. So yeah,
our one-to-one.
If you haven't joined our WhatsApp group, then please get in contact with us of how to do that. So you can catch up with us on Facebook at the Dobson's Property Adventures. We have got our networking next week, our in-person networking here in Colchester. You can buy tickets from Moneytree Mastery Property Network.co.uk. We have got LMPG, Landlords National Purchasing Group, as our keynote speakers. So that's going to be an amazing evening. You'll get to meet the lovely Donna and lots of other members of networking at the event, and we're really looking forward to seeing you, helping you, sharing our knowledge, sharing our ideas, and really helping people to change their lives through property. So thanks for watching the Mastery Property Show. Thank you for being here and spending this hour with us. And we'll be here at the same time next week. So Thursdays, 12:30, the Moneytree Mastery Property Show. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Lovely. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye, Donna.